What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a little bit of a different video. So obviously I've been doing a lot of random work lately. We still got the ChrisSadowski stuck here waiting on a drive shaft and shifter and stuff. But for you Del Sol folk, we got something cool for you. Now there is one other guy on YouTube that's already done this, but his video series, no offense to him, is unnecessarily long, drawn out, and terrible. So basically what we're doing, my phone's ringing, EG front end on this Del Sol. Alright, so let's just jump right into this. We're going to keep this one pretty much short and sweet. So, visually, right off the bat, you may notice the engine is leaning. We were just discussing that, it's an engine mount problem. So ignore that. Right off the bat, I also want to address that the core support. So that is one of your main pieces that you're going to need. His already has a tubular core support. His car was, hit and ran, and this is the outcome of it. Then nobody makes the Del Sol core supports anymore. So if you're doing one, you want to shave some weight, make some more room, the EG1 bolts right up, obviously. And then you have your provisions for your headlights and such. The bumper, that just went on, right?
Yeah. This is an EG bumper. You can still order these. This is just an aftermarket one. It's not legit Honda, but
yeah, just like an eBay certificate. Yeah, and then the hood, the hood dimensionally should fit up just fine. You'll have to obviously figure out your own hood latch situation unless you use the stock core support. But assuming you've got that part kind of at least mentally figured out labor-wise, you'll sort that yourselves out. But the main part that we're here for is the fenders. So the issue with the fenders is, so this is a stock EG fender right now, right? Okay, so yeah, obviously it fits around the headlight, but this is the part that we're not liking right here, which is this fat gap to the door. So essentially, it sounds a lot more simple, but we'll test that theory here in a minute, is you basically chop it, you stitch weld them together, and then you got all your provisions. So we're going to go through, we're going to kind of piece this thing together, and I will kind of take you guys along with us as we get this thing sorted out to make a more complete EG front swap Del Sol. And at this angle, it honestly kind of looks like an R32 front end. Like, I don't know, like the headlights look very similar, but yeah, all right, let's get cracking.
Screwed up.
So this is the EG fender sitting on top of the Del Sol fender. You can see they're very, very similar, other than the obvious length difference here in the back. So the way I'm looking at this, I thought the arches line up extremely similarly right here. The EG one is just slightly more forward, but all the bolt holes will line up the same. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the mid cut on the EG fender. So I'm going to just measure that out, find the middle of the arch, and we'll just go straight up from there, maybe slightly over so we can overlap it. EG fender is trimmed up. We're resting it on there. It's looking pretty good, so I just made my tape line. I'm going to cut on the outside of the tape line, though, or well, I guess technically the inside. That way we have some overlap, and then we can trim it up from there. Obviously, it's always best to cut too short. That way you have more to trim back than it is to cut too much, because it's a lot easier than adding metal back. So go ahead, trim these up. See a bolt hole there. That, bolts in the way, but bolt hole there. And then the rest of these line up. So looking pretty solid. Okay, here's our Del Sol back half. So roughly right there. And our EG front half, roughly right there, ish, something like that. So I think we're looking pretty darn good. So just basically trim back. You know, I'm gonna obviously put all the bolts in and make sure everything's still kind of happy where it sits, but then we can basically just trace with a marker and then cut on the inside line of the marker, and we can make things fit. Not too shabby for the first cut. First time doing it. So obviously there is a little bit of a gap here. Now I'd already mentioned about doing a little stitching backs, you know, back pieces with some new sheet metal. That way I have a little bit more to bite onto. So this is just going to be a good spot to put some of that. So now next step is, you know, prep both mating surfaces, and then I'll leave it on the car when I go to tack it, obviously. Make sure everything's lined up how I want it. I'm going to still focus on just getting this one side prepped and tack welded really quick, and then we'll move on to the other side because, you know, one step at a time. But you guys hopefully are kind of getting the gist of it. Just do a little bit of measuring, a lot of eyeballing, because this is one of those things where you kind of just got to keep test fitting, and then lots of tape and Sharpie, but you should be doing all right. You can see the arch lines up just about perfect. So this one's already rolled, and then it was slightly damaged before, so that's kind of why this one sits slightly lower. But all we're gonna do is grind that flat once it's welded, so there's no sharp edge there, but not too shabby. So after doing a little bit of test fit and a little bit more welding, this is probably about where we're going to end it on the metalwork side of this fender, just because you can't just go ahead and weld the whole thing. There's simply just not enough metal there, and this thing's plenty strong. I did add a couple braces. So basically what I did is I just took, you know, some 16 gauge and I just trimmed it up in little spots like this, and I just used it to act as a backer, so that way it would have a little bit more structure to it. The rest from here is pretty much going to be body work. Now you can see it's pretty darn straight. The only part that's, you know, of concern is right there, but that can easily be pulled, and that was because this fender actually has, again, a lot of Bondo, but it was also rolled already. This one is kind of, you know, just from clamping. And then the only issue was this was starting to tear right here just from playing with it. So this is all just going to have to be kind of maneuver, or, you know, manhandled with dies, you know, body hammers and body filler. So I'd pretty much say this side is done. You know, the headlight does in fact, you know, seal the deal right here. So, you know, obviously don't have the screw in it, but something like that, and we're looking pretty good. Of course the bumper just needs, you know, a screw or a zip tie, however he's going to do it, but we're looking pretty darn good here. You know, honestly, I'm pretty stoked for my first time. So of course we still have to do the other side, but it's going to be the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get the basics done on the other side, and we'll show you what it looks like with both sides more or less wrapped up. Second side is just about to get tacked up, and this one, I cut this one so much better, you know. Second time's a charm type thing, but perfectly seamless. Well, it's technically overlapping, literally like a 16th or so. Probably an 1/8 inch, but it's just enough. So the arch line looks a little bit better overall. It'll focus. Yeah, arch line looks better. So this is perfect as is. I'm going to, you know, this bolt's lined up and snug down. This one's snug down. The ones down there are snug down. So this one over here is kind of damaged, but you can see, you know, it starts to show itself when you start pushing this around. So I'm going to pretty much wrap that right there. I'm going to massage it in place just slightly. But yeah, this one's looking awesome. Well, there you guys have it. EG fenders on a well, I guess EG front end conversion. Now again, the core sport thing, you're gonna have to do the core sport. This guy again had already wrecked his front end, so he had the EG core sport. And you know, the fenders, technically they bolt right up, but you know, again, like you guys saw lengthwise, not okay. The bumper bolts right up, headlights with the core sport. So yeah, it all goes together pretty darn easy. It only took me probably 3 hours to get those fenders done, if that, metal wise. And then you're just gonna have to go through, do a little massaging with the body hammers and fill up with some Bondo, and you're gonna have yourself a pretty sweet looking Del Sol. If you did enjoy the video though, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hopefully by now you've considered subscribing. And if you ever feel like sending me something, I got a P.O. box, want to help support the channel further. I got a big cartel with merch and, you know, my metal products. If you're local and you want something done like, you know, this ChrisSadowski or that Del Sol, hit me up on Instagram at Sadowski Fabrication. But anyways, guys, do what you love. Forget about the rest. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.